Order. Director Cooper, will you take the roll, please?
Yes, ma'am. Allen?
Here.
Benedict? Druffel?
Here.
Glover?
Here.
Mendez?
Here.
Porterfield?
Here.
Roten?
Here.
Sledge?
Here.
Suara?
Here.
Syracuse?
Here.
Sims is here. Bircher?
Present.
Young?
Present.
Going back, Benedict?
Present.
13 present. All are here. Right.
All right, fantastic. I'm going to read the electronic motion here, and then I'm going to need the motion in a second. Pursuant to Governor Lee's Executive Order number 71 regarding electronic meetings, I make a motion that this committee meeting agenda constitutes essential business of the Metropolitan Council, and that meeting electronically is necessary to protect the health, safety, and welfare of Tennesseans in light of the COVID-19 outbreak.
So moved.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Director Cooper, will you take the roll call vote, please?
Allen? Councilmember Allen? Benedict?
Aye.
Druffel?
Aye.
Glover?
Aye.
Mendez?
Aye.
Porterfield?
Aye.
Roten?
Aye.
Sledge?
Aye.
Suara?
Aye.
Syracuse?
Aye.
Toombs?
Aye.
Bircher? Young?
Aye.
12 in favor, 0 against.
All right, motion carries. We have several items on consent. I'm going to read the list. If there's anything that needs to come off, please raise your hand. Resolution 2021-759, 760, 761, 762, 763, 765, 766, 767, 768, 769, 770, 774, 775, Bill 2021-623, and 624. Is there anything that needs to come off of the consent agenda? All right, seeing no hands, I will go through and read the captions. Resolution 2021-759, Toombs, Welsh, and Suara approves an amendment to a grant from Living Cities to the Metro Finance Department to support the city accelerators retake to improve the participation of minority and women-owned businesses in the Metro government's procurement process. Resolution 2021-760, Suara, Van Rees, Welsh, Allen, and Toombs approves an amendment to a grant contract for constructing affordable housing between the Metro Housing Trust Fund Commission and Affordable Housing Resources. Resolution 2021-761, Suara, Welsh, Allen, and Toombs approves an amendment to a grant contract for construction of affordable housing between the Metro Housing Trust Fund Commission and 15th Avenue Baptist CDC. Resolution 2021-762, Toombs, Murphy, Welsh, Suara, and Hancock approves an application for a grant from the National Park Service African American Civil Rights History Grant Program to the Metro Nashville Historical Commission to provide for the completion of a countywide historical context about Nashville and Davidson County's involvement in the Civil Rights Movement. Resolution 2021-763, Toombs and Gamble approves an intergovernmental agreement between the Emergency Communications District and Metro government for funding improvements to the Department of Emergency Communications Center. Resolution 2021-765, Van Rees, Welsh, Suara, and Toombs approves a grant from the National Endowment for the Arts to the Metro Arts Commission to fund a series of temporary public art interventions, artist-led community planning, workshops focused on affordable housing and production spaces, and targeted creative economic neighborhood policies within Madison for cultural and economic redevelopment in the city. Resolution 2021-766, Toombs, Gamble, and Suara approves an assistance to firefighters grant from the United States Department of Homeland Security to the Metro Fire Department to protect the health and safety of the public and first responder personnel against fire and fire-related hazards. Resolution 2021-767, Toombs, Taylor, Welsh, and Swara approves a grant from the Tennessee Department of Health to the Metro Board of Health for the Healthy Start Home Visiting Program to identify and provide comprehensive services to improve outcomes for eligible families who reside in at-risk communities. Resolution 2021-768, Toombs, Taylor, Welsh, and Swara approves a grant from the Tennessee Department of Health to the Metro Board of Health to promote the proper use of all recommended vaccines and respond to vaccine preventable diseases in collaboration with the CDC and other partners. Resolution 2021-769, Toombs, Taylor, and Welsh approves a grant from the Association of Food and Drug Officials to the Metro Board of Health to attend the FDA Southeast Regional Seminar to enhance conformance with voluntary national retail food regulatory program standards. Resolution 2021-770, Toombs, Murphy, and Nash authorizes the Metro Water and Sewage Services to enter into a facility encroachment agreement with CSX Transportation Incorporated to abandon an existing water main and to construct, use, and maintain a water main in the railroad right-of-way at 2nd Avenue North of Joe Johnston. Resolution 2021-774, Benedict, Toombs, Murphy, and Nash authorizes the Director of Public Property to purchase 3 flood-prone properties located on Madison Boulevard for Metro Water Services. Resolution 2021-775, Toombs, Murphy, Nash, and Johnston authorizes the acquisition and removal of an additional 11 flood-prone properties and revising estimated property acquisition costs to the previously approved 45 flood-prone properties in the 7 Mile Creek watersheds. Bill 2021-623, Rutherford, Toombs, and Murphy authorizes the Director of Public Property Administration to accept a donation of real property consisting of 15.91 acres for use as a proposed school site. And Bill 2021-624, Stiles, Toombs, Murphy, Nash, Allen, and Van Reese approves a Greenway conservation easement for property located at 0 Ashford Trace. Are there any items that need to come off of the consent agenda? Seeing no hands, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All right, seeing no hands, Director Cooper, will you take the roll call vote, please?
Allen,
Aye.
Benedict,
Aye.
Gruffel.
Aye.
Glover,
Aye.
Mendez,
Aye.
Porterfield,
Aye.
Roten,
Aye.
Sledge,
Aye.
Swara,
Aye.
Syracuse,
Aye.
Toombs,
Aye.
Mercer, Councilmember Mercer, Young,
Aye.
12 in favor, 0 against.
Attorney Cooper, did you say I said aye?
Okay, 13 in favor.
Motion carries. Moving on to Resolution 2021-757, Toombs, Van Reese, and Rosenberg issues general obligation bonds of the Metropolitan government in an aggregate principal amount of not to exceed $474,610,000. This one is deferred by rule. Do we need to take any type of vote, Director Cooper?
No, it's just automatically deferred tonight.
And an email was sent out asking committee members to direct any questions regarding this resolution to Director Cooper. And those are due by the 23rd of this month. So we want to have a robust discussion and informed discussion at our next meeting. So please, if you have questions, get those to Director Cooper. Resolution 2021-764, Toombs, Murphy, Nash, and Welsh approves an urban transportation planning grant from the Tennessee Department of Transportation to Metro Government. I need to withdraw that one. We don't need to do a vote, do we, Director Cooper?
No, just announcements, fine.
All right. We have a late item, number 17, late resolution, Toombs, Parker, Swara, and others, directs appropriation for and waiving a reimbursement claim for overpaid hazard pay bonus provided to certain Metropolitan employees of the Department of Parks and Recreation. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? I'm scrolling. I see a hand. Councilman Glover?
Thank you, Chair. I will not be able to support this because I've heard from a number in the business community that frankly are just beyond aggravated that we're even considering it. There were no furloughs, no layoffs or anything else. And while the business community has been hurting, their employees have been hurting, they are almost taken way back that we would even consider this. So I will not be in favor of this. Thank you.
All right. Councilwoman Porterfield?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to, I am in support, and I just wanted to thank the administration for working to find a solution. At the last meeting where we discussed this, we ended this with a plea to find a solution so that we would not further cause harm to our Metro employees, even though I know that was never the intent. But there was a plea to make sure that we found a resolution to help, these employees that worked the whole time during the time when people were home and there were certain activities that they couldn't do. There were people that were utilizing our parks, and these were individuals that were cutting the grass and taking out the trash and making sure that we could still assess these public facilities at a time when people needed an outlet and needed somewhere to go for various reasons. These employees were there. They worked hard. They supported us. This was not a handout. They worked for this. So I just want to thank administration for finding a solution and a way to deal with this. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Allen, you put your hand down. You didn't have a question?
No, Councilmember
Comment.
Porterfield said everything I wanted to say. So just that those folks were working, and I think that's really important to say.
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman Suara?
Thank you, Chair. I just want to add that something similar has happened before. It happens with benefits, and we do have in the code relating to benefit that says that when we do overpay something due to no fault of the employees, that we will look for a waiver. While this is not directly benefit, it is similar in the sense that it was not due to their fault. The employees were not aware of it, and so when you look at that exception or waiver in our code itself, it talks about this specifically. Although it was talking about benefits, we can apply the same thing in this case. And so with that, I too applaud the administration for following a precedent that had been set for a waiver in a case where a mistake was made, the employees had no fault, and it would be catastrophic to ask them to pay back, especially when they've already spent it and their income will not even assimilate those deductions. Another thing that is also worthy of pointing out is that even in situation with federal government, when you're doing garnishment of wages, you have to look at what is the impact on the income of the person. And in this case, the people that got these benefits that if you try to garnish their wages in the time that our code allows for, it will cause undue hardship on them. And so based on those, I applaud the fact that the administration was able to work within everything that we got to be able to waive this and not cause hardship on our citizens. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Vercher?
Thank you so much, Chair. If someone from finance or whoever you deem appropriate for the viewing audience, if they can convey how this is actually working for the general public and the budget impact.
Ms. Wiggins?
Yes, thank you, Chairwoman. This is Mary Jo Wiggins with Deputy Finance. The resolution, I'll step back. The funds that were originally intended for hazard pay were the federal funds. Because we cannot use federal funds for this overpayment because they didn't meet the hours of eligibility, the resolution essentially is giving the council the opportunity to appropriate those funds out of the regular operating budget for the Parks Department. So it would allow the employees to keep the wages, and those expenses would be charged to the department's operating expenses rather than the COVID fund.
Councilwoman Virtue, was that enough information? Did you feel like something else needed to be covered?
No, this is, Chair, this is just for the viewing audience.
Okay.
They don't understand how we got here, how the mistake happened. We didn't have a special call meeting to convey it to the public. So this is just for the benefit of the public and making sure that we're good stewards of their tax dollars. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Are there any other questions or comments? Councilwoman Henderson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not on the committee. I appreciate you recognizing. My question is in the similar vein to Council Lady Virtue's. I know this was briefly discussed in our COVID committee. There was a meeting of the Parks Committee where this was discussed as well. But I guess what I'm not clear on is when we say this is going to come out of the parks operational budget, from whence that is going to come specifically. And then as well, I know there was somewhat of a kind of discrepancy in, the information provided by parks as requested versus, garnered and processed on the finance side. And so I'm wondering kind of what corrective action we've taken internal to finance to make sure that this doesn't happen again. While I understand and appreciate Ms. Wiggins' explanation, I don't quite think we have the detailed accounting, or the public rather, because I've just kind of heard this in bits and pieces. I am still unclear on how we're going to make sure this doesn't happen again, please. And from it will come out of the parks budget. Thank you.
Ms. Wiggins, can you respond to that?
Yes, thank you, Chair. The process for hazard pay, there was an eligibility review process, and after that, departments were given their list of all eligible employees that were approved as a part of that process. To actually process the payroll, every department was sent the instructions, a template, and attestation. The departments were instructed to send back the hazard pay template, and that template consisted of the employee name, the employee number, the number of hours to be paid, and the business unit to charge, in which case was the COVID fund and that department's related business unit. So that was the information that was requested. It was the hours to be paid. We had a couple dozen departments submit their templates. We had 12 departments that had employees who were approved for either a portion of their hours or a percentage. Sometimes it was a set number of hours per week. Sometimes it was a percentage of hours total. Every single one of those departments sent back hours to be paid. The Parks Department sent back the total hours worked by that employee during the time period. And so that is how, and all of the forms were processed as submitted. So as far as how to prevent this from happening again, we had one department that just was confused and didn't send in the hours as requested. While we still have one last hazard pay run that is being submitted, those were for other omissions by the departments. They have all been consistent with the instructions, and then we are finished with hazard pay. So it was just an inadvertent mistake on the submission, and it won't happen again because we don't have hazard pay coming forward again.
Thank you. And then just lastly, from whence it will come out of Parks operational budget?
So to date, there has been 127,000 of regularly scheduled comp and benefits from the Parks Department that has been charged to the COVID fund. It was appropriate, it's eligible. If they had employees who were sick or for some reason could not work for, if they couldn't show up to work, and think more early on in July and August when we were still having some of our shutdown, and if they weren't able to work, they could charge that admin time to the COVID fund. So that's already a significant portion, not quite half, but almost half of the funds have already been, in essence, saved because the budgeted amount had already been charged to the COVID fund and not to the parks operating budget. And then the remaining amount, based on where we are today at the end of January, the January 31st month end, there appears to be sufficient budget to cover these expenses. As you'll see in the resolution, we will work with the department through April 30th to make sure that there is still room in the budget. But based on expenses incurred to date compared to budget, as well as expenses incurred to date through, in comparison to even the previous fiscal year, the department is tracking very well. And so the additional funds should be covered by their budget.
Thank you. And thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Druffel?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Just a clarification question, because I'm big on this point. Were there the employees that got paid hazardous pay, were they eligible for hazardous pay?
Yes, Councilmember Druffel, all of the employees who were paid were approved through the eligibility process.
So how did the overpayment occur? Was the overpayment then excess hazardous pay, or can you clarify that a little bit for me?
Absolutely. So, and again, I'm sorry, I don't have my camera on. This is Mary Jo Wiggins. The overpayment happened because not every employee had 100% of their hours that were approved for eligibility. So not just in the Parks Department, but in a dozen different departments, you might have a portion of somebody's role and responsibility that met the criteria, but then other hours that they worked did not meet the criteria. And so for some individuals, kind of depended by department, they might have said, 10 hours of this person's role every week meets the eligibility. So they would report just 10 hours per week. For other employees, it was a percentage. And so it might say 20% of the hours that this employee works are spent in doing duties that meet this specific criteria to deem them eligible. So at the end of the hazard pay program, which ran from March 16th until November 30th, just based on funds available, hours were submitted for the total hours worked that were eligible for hazard pay from that date, from March 16th to November 30th. So if you had an employee that was eligible for 100% of their hours, then their total hours were submitted. Keep in mind, it did not include any sick time, COVID admin time, vacation time, any other kind of time not worked in their role. But all hours worked in their role were submitted. But if it was an employee who only, say, 20% or 60% or 80%, we had anywhere from 6% up to 100% of somebody's hours were approved. In the case of parks, they submitted all of the hours worked by that individual, less sick, admin, vacation. But hours worked were sent to be paid rather than just the portion that were deemed eligible.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, they were overpaid based on what they should have received. Is that correct?
Correct. If somebody was eligible to receive, let's say somebody had 1,000 hours and they were eligible for 20% of those hours.
Okay.
Hours should have been submitted as 200, but they were paid for all 1,000.
Okay, thank you. I as much as I am sensitive to the idea that we need to take care of them, I again, my business world of 40 years sort of dictates if this were to happen, we would work with the employee to work out the overpayment. And by all means, it's important to work with them, but I have difficulty supporting that for that reason. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Druffel. Councilman Glover, your hand is still up. Do you have a further discussion?
Yeah, just so I want to clarify. Let's say that they make their regular pay. What percentage over their regular pay did the hazard pay? Not percentage what of, but over the regular pay would hazard pay give them additional money of?
Chairwoman, do you want me to take that?
Yes.
Okay, this is Mary Jo Wiggins. The hazard pay was $3.13 per hour for every employee across the board.
Oh, over their regular pay, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So and look, I agree that it's bad it happened, and I realize some of these folks are some of the lesser paid individuals that we have across Metro, but still at the end of the day, we raise taxes 34% on backs of people that still a lot of them are not working right now. And so fundamentally, and Councilman Druffel is exactly right. In the business world, you find a way to work it out, but we're going to move this again over to the backs of the taxpayers, and fundamentally, I simply just cannot support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Looking through to see if there are any other hands. Councilman Parker.
Thank you, Chair, for the recognition, although I'm not a member of this committee. I wanted to ask Mary Jo Wiggins, could you give us an idea of sort of how big the overall pie was for hazard pay and how much this overpayment represents of that overall pie?
Yes, happy to. The total gross wages was roughly $17 million across all Metro departments, roughly 4,500 employees. Then you have to add on payroll taxes as well as a benefit percentage for the total of $21 million for hazard pay. So we did use $21 million of the federal funds to cover this program. The overpayment would be roughly $270,000 at the gross wages. So that would be 270 divided by that 17 million. I'm doing math as we speak. So about 1.5% of the total hazard pay.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Councilman Parker, is that it?
Yes, Chair, that's all I had. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilwoman Bircher.
Thank you, Chair. This dialogue has got my wheels turning over here. Thank you, Ms. Wiggins. Quick question. So the 4,500 across the department, did all of them receive the same hazard percentage? Did all of them receive the $3 above whatever their respective salaries were? I'm just trying to reconcile in my mind, how do we add a percentage? Like if I'm working, how do I determine if I'm working 30% hazardous part of the day, 70% non-hazardous the other part of my work day? I hope I'm making sense. I'm just trying to reconcile the $3 versus the 100%.
Yes, Council Lady Bircher, this is Mary Jo Wiggins. So I think you're asking two things, or I'll try to describe it two ways. The hazard pay rate was the same for every single Metro employee. So the $3.13 per hour for hour worked that met the eligible requirement was the same.
Okay.
So that was across the board. Now, as far as percentage, that was looked at by each individual role and responsibility. So you might have an employee who, for part of their day, may have been doing, paperwork behind their desk. And so they are socially distanced or they are masked. They are in an environment that they can clean and sanitize. And so for those hours may not have met the criteria, but then they may work a portion of their day out in the public. And in some case, if it was, picking up the trash and coming into contact with what could have been contaminated materials, contaminated with the virus. So that's where literally on role by role by role, we went through, the approval committee went through to say, okay, is it a percentage of their day? Is it a percentage of their week? Is it a set hour? We had one employee who they know for about 1 hour every day, they met with the public to do certain kind of one-on-one, face-to-face interactions and didn't, and so for that 1 hour every day. So that employee was approved for 5 hours a week. So in some cases it was set hours, in some cases it was a percentage, but that was in working with the departments as they submitted for eligibility to really determine how much each employee's role and responsibility on a daily or weekly basis met the 3 specific criteria. And so then that percentage was communicated back to the departments once it was agreed upon.
Okay, so the department received a pre-filled template and then just sent it back with an attestation?
It wasn't pre-filled. So there was a process for determining eligibility, which included that percentage and all of that role and responsibility. And then there was a process for actually processing the payment because it was a one-time lump sum payment. And for the payment processing side, the directions were sent with the blank template and the attestation, which was for the department head to be able to say, I've reviewed this. It doesn't include admin, sick, and vacation. I understand, this is subject to audit. It says I understand upon audit, any expenses not deemed eligible for federal funds may come back to the department or may be recouped from the employee. So those 2 forms were sent to all of the departments that qualified for hazard pay. And then each department was responsible for sending back the completed template and the attestation.
Okay, and then on the front end, that the meeting determined what the percentage would be for the workers. The committee determined that, not the department?
The committee determined it, but when it got down to individual role and responsibility, where we had to really think about percentages, that was in cooperation with the department. That would have been somebody saying, okay, tell me about this particular role. And then it would be going back and forth until there was an agreed upon percentage.
Okay.
Did that answer everything?
Councilwoman Virtue, is that sufficient?
Yeah, Chair. Yeah.
Thank you. Councilman Glover, your hand is still up. Do you have another question or comment? Oh, one away. All right, seeing no other hands, Director Cooper, will you take the roll call vote, please?
Yes, ma'am. And just to point out, after this vote, we'll need to go back and pick up Resolution 758.
I have it marked. Yeah.
Allen?
Aye.
Benedict?
Aye.
Druffel?
No.
Glover?
No.
Mendez?
Aye.
Porterfield?
Aye.
Roten?
Aye.
Sledge?
Aye.
Suara?
Aye.
Syracuse?
Aye.
Humes?
Aye.
Bircher?
Aye.
Young? Councilmember Young? That'd be 10 in favor, 2 against.
All right, motion carries. Going back to resolution 2021-758-2, reduces the authority of Metro government to issue general obligation bonds pursuant to certain initial resolutions previously adopted by the Metro County Council. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Councilwoman Allen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As I understand that this is outstanding capital spending plan money that has been there for a long time, and we know and we're acknowledging that it's just never going to be spent. So I'm just wondering if there's someone from finance who can tell us what's the oldest stuff that's still out there, and are we likely to decide that there's other obligated funds that we know we're not going to spend? I mean, can we expect that this would be a regular occurrence every 6 months or something?
Ms. Wiggins, can you respond to that?
Thank you, Chair. Councilwoman Allen, I can't fully respond to that. I don't have the specifics. I see Director Cooper does. I was going to say, this is a normal process, and he looks like he has the detail. I'm going to pass it.
Yes, this $5.2 million, the earliest spending plan is from 2009. It was 2009, 2010, 2012, and 2013. And this is primarily just contingency money that was designated as contingency and then not spent.
Okay, great. That's very helpful. I think it's helpful for us to know that that gets wiped clean, and then we know it's no longer hanging out there. So does that mean when we come up to another bill to consider a new capital spending plan, that will include money only from 2014 forward, or are there other things from years prior to that may still be waiting to be finished up? Is that question?
Well, as far as the deauthorization, that just reduces Metro's overall par indebtedness. So you take, like, let's say our indebtedness was 580 million. It's now 575 million. I don't know what it is, but that's just, for example.
Okay.
So the new spending plan that's coming forward will just be for those new projects that are listed in the exhibit.
Okay, all right. I think my further questions I'll address when we get the report that will come along with that. Thank you. That's all my questions.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Mendez.
Thanks. I know Councilman Allen just did a nice job of trying to save her question for another day. But just to point out that the capital spending plan that we're considering now includes some things that have been in the CIB since as long ago as 2006. The CIB project numbers are listed in Exhibit A to the capital spending plan, and there's projects that go back to 2009, the 2012 CIB. So it definitely goes back a ways in the new CIB. That, like Director Cooper said, this current resolution, all it does is kill off authorized spending that's deemed not necessary anymore. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Hurd.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for allowing me to ask a question. I'm not a member of the committee, but it concerns me with this resolution. Is that going to create unequal treatment for the employees?
Ms. Wiggins or Mr. Jameson?
I mean, these people are going to get this money and some are not. So I'm just wondering if that's going to be unfair treatment. And also, did the finance department do they review the payroll documents when they come over?
Oh, Councilwoman Hurt, we voted on the hazard pay resolution. We're on the resolution 2021-758 now, the deauthorization of some general obligation bonds.
Okay, well, I'll ask them on the floor. I apologize.
No problem. Are there any other questions or comments on resolution 2021-758? Seeing none, Director Cooper, will you take the roll call vote, please?
Allen,
Aye.
Benedict,
Aye.
Druffel,
Aye.
Glover,
Aye.
Mendez,
Aye.
Porterfield,
Aye.
Roten,
Aye.
Sledge,
Aye.
Sawara,
Aye.
Syracuse,
Aye.
Toombs,
Aye.
Vercher,
Aye.
Young. 12 in favor, 0 against.
All right, motion carries. Moving on to Bill 2020-553, Hall, Toombs, Taylor, Welch, requires a resolution of the Metro Council prior to discontinuing operation at the J.B. Knowles Home Assisted Living Facility. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. On to discussion. Councilwoman Porterfield, can you preside over the discussion?
Absolutely can. And would you like to be recognized, Madam Chair, as the sponsor?
Yes, I would, and I'd like to move my substitute with a brief explanation.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly seconded. Councilmember Toombs, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. So I have worked with the administration on the language of the substitute, changed some of the language in the recitals and looking at the different sections. The language has been changed so that services can't be discontinued at Knowles as long as there's a successful bidder pursuant to Metro's public procurement process or a current qualified operator willing to provide services in exchange for funding no greater than the most recent budgeted subsidy. There was some concern from the administration of maybe having someone who was qualified to take over operations or to continue operations, and that entity would ask for some exorbitant amount of money as a subsidy. Took out the requirement for the public hearing. It's just saying that no wind down process would be started until 30 days after the council voting in the affirmative to close down operations. Also, Section 30 discusses the subsidy and that it's the council's intent to continue operations with the subsidy, but with the intent that ultimately there wouldn't be one, or that the subsidy would be sufficient to bring per patient revenue for Davidson County residents living at Knowles Home in line with per patient revenue at comparable nonprofit assisted living facilities in Davidson County until a long-term plan is reviewed and approved by the council. So essentially what this substitute is doing is that as long as there's someone who's qualified and willing to operate Knowles, the administration can't unilaterally determine that they're going to cease operations at Knowles. The council gets to weigh in, and the council has to vote to close Knowles if that's the will of the council with 21 votes. With that, I'd ask for the committee to approve the substitute.
Thank you so very much, Madam Chair. And is there any discussion? Scrolling through, seeing no hands in queue. Director Cooper, could you take the vote, please?
On the substitute, Allen,
Aye.
Benedict,
Aye.
Druffel,
Aye.
Glover,
Aye.
Mendez,
Aye.
Porterfield,
Aye.
Roten,
Aye.
Sledge,
Aye.
Sawara,
Aye.
Syracuse,
Aye.
Toombs,
Aye.
Vercher,
Aye.
Young, 12 in favor, 0 against.
Thank you so very much, Director Cooper. The substitute is passed. Is there any discussion on the bill as amended?
move the bill as substituted.
Second.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'm scrolling through the queue and I don't see any hands raised. We are open for discussion and not seeing any hands. Director Cooper, could you go ahead and take the vote again?
Allen,
Aye.
Benedict,
Aye.
Truffle,
Aye.
Glover,
Aye.
Mendez,
Aye.
Porterfield,
Aye.
Roten,
Aye.
Sledge,
Aye.
Suara, Syracuse,
Aye. Suarez, aye.
Syracuse says aye.
Toombs,
Aye.
Bircher, Councilmember Bircher,
Aye.
Young, 12 in favor, 0 against.
Motion passes. Thank you so very much. And I'm turning it back over to Councilmember Toombs.
All right, moving to the last item on our agenda, Bill 2021-618, O'Connell, Welsh, Allen, and Suara provides the waiver of certain building permit fees for the repair or rebuilding of property damaged as a result of the December 25th, 2020 blast. Can I get a motion?
Move.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Moving on to discussion, Councilman O'Connell.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for the recognition. This bill is a part of a collaboration with the administration and multiple Metro departments, and we do have just a couple more items to discuss as it kind of gets to final state here. So I'd like to ask the committee to move this for a one meeting deferral, please.
So moved.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to do a one meeting deferral. Is there any discussion on the deferral? Seeing none, Director Cooper, will you take the roll call vote, please?
Allen,
Aye.
Benedict,
Aye.
Truffle,
Aye.
Glover,
Aye.
Mendez,
Aye.
Porterfield,
Aye.
Roten, Councilmember Roten, Sledge,
Aye.
Suara,
Aye.
Syracuse,
Aye.
Toombs,
Aye.
Bircher,
Aye.
Young.
This is Councilmember Roden. Aye.
Okay, 12 in favor, 0 against.
Motion carries, and that is all I have. Director Cooper, have I forgotten anything?
No, ma'am, that covered all of it.
All right, well, Budget and Finance is adjourned. Thank you.